to the Ohio Home Inspector Network podcast. I'm your host today, James Jones, and today we have the pleasure of meeting with Mike McLaughlin. Please go ahead and introduce yourself, Mike, and let the viewers know all about yourself.
My name is Mike McLaughlin, and I own Access Insurance in Westlake, Ohio. It's an independent office. Been around for about 2 years now, and just had my 9-year anniversary of insurance agency ownership. I was an Allstate agent for about 6.5 years, and we decided to make the switch to offer more carriers and solutions to people and offer personal and commercial lines insurance.
Thank you, Mike. Today we'll be discussing some very important topics surrounding homeowners insurance in Ohio. How do you see the landscape for homeowners insurance in 2025 changing? Do you see any changes coming down the pike, or will it be business as usual?
I think there's going to be a lot of changes. I think the changes are already happening. I talked to a lot of, real estate people in real estate, loan officers, inspectors, and I think this is a good topic right now because it's been changing and people don't realize it. I think about 12 months ago, carriers have tightened up their restrictions. I think they've raised rates. Eligibility guidelines are changing of who they're willing and not willing to do business with. And it's most of the carriers. Some carriers that haven't followed will, I think, eventually follow. And 2025, I don't really see much difference. I think that your guess is as good as mine when the economy is going to turn around. And the economy is part of the problem with homeowners insurance rates and the losses that carriers are taking on right now.
From your experience, Mike, when a home inspector goes out to evaluate a roof, what changes should we anticipate, specifically surrounded around buyers' policies are being either canceled or withdrawn? I'm personally hearing from homeowners after they've purchased their home, they're in it for 60 to 90 days, and then they're calling us saying, hey, you inspected the roof, you didn't do anything wrong, but we have 10 years left, estimated life expectancy on this particular roof, but the insurance carrier is saying that we need to replace it now. Can you speak to that at all, Mike?
Yeah, I think part of it's on the agent. I think the insurance agent should be taking a look at what that roof looks like. There's plenty of websites online. You can go to your realtor.com, your Zillow. You can go to Google Maps. You can kind of get a good look at this roof without actually physically being there. And I even use satellite imagery when I'm trying to work on homeowners quotes for people. What does that roof look like so that doesn't happen? Because they're going to get the inspection from you, and then 30 to 60 days later, that carrier is going to come out and they're going to inspect the outside of that house. So when they inspect that house and they're seeing lifting shingles, curling, moss growth, potential deterioration, algae, it's just roofs that they don't want to take on right now. If they're losing money, they want to look for the best risks out there. And if you've had the same insurance agent your whole life, you've been with the same carrier rather, you're just known to stick with that carrier. And so what I'm seeing is people have been with a carrier since they were 16 years old. The consumer doesn't know that this roof might be a problem, especially because there is life left on that roof coming from the inspector. And they're coming back and saying the roof's too old. You got 30 or 60 days to find a new carrier. We're getting off this policy. We don't want to do business with you. And it's frustrating. I try not to write a policy that I know I'm going to have to rewrite in 2 months. So I do all my effort, but we can't catch everything. And I think the consumer, they need to, if you're buying that first home, you need to send that address to your agent. You need to have them look at it and say, hey, is there anything, before they even put in the offer, is there anything you see that might be an issue with the insurability of this house that I'm buying? Because some things that the home inspector cares about, some things the insurance carriers care about, but they don't always overlap.
Makes
So
sense. That makes a lot of sense. I was an independent adjuster for a long time, so I'm just seeing a different dynamic in how things are, how insurance companies are mitigating their risk. Uh, we're really looking at a different time. The frequency of storms, both regionally and nationally, are driving a lot of changes in the insurance industry. Do you foresee any price hikes or changes or affordability, or I mean, what do you see in 2025?
well, I wasn't excited to see these hurricanes that are going on right now because to me that means homeowners rates are going to raise. Um, I have a conversation all the time. People say, "Well, what do I care about Florida? I'm in Ohio. Why are my rates going up? Because there's hurricanes in Florida, there's wildfires on the West Coast." And my analogy is always insurance is a pool. You got to fill that pool up with water, and then when claims happen, you take that water out. But if that pool ever becomes empty, it's insolvent. It's not a good business model for an insurance company or any company. So a lot of these companies are operating in Florida. They operate in all 50 states. So they have to spread the losses around the whole country. And then, some carriers are regional, only here on the East Coast. They're still getting hit by the hurricanes. And I would even say a step further here in Ohio. Ohio doesn't have the hurricanes, the wildfires. We have our tornadoes, we have our wind and hailstorms, and they're not as prevalent, they're not as catastrophic. But each state and each zip code is priced differently. And I think if you were to pick your house up and put it in Florida or the Carolinas or California, you'd be shocked at the rate that you'd pay for that same house in a different state being double and triple. So for going forward to 2025, I don't see the market turning around in the next year. And it'll be interesting to see how bad these hurricanes are affecting us on a national level and how many homes have been completely destroyed and need to be paid for. So I'm not looking forward to it. I want good rates just like everybody else does. So I don't think it's going to be steady for a year, and I think 30% home increases this year have been the norm, and I wouldn't be shocked to see them again next year in 2025.
Well, lastly, Mike, if you had any advice for buyers, especially first-time home buyers coming into the market, even seasoned. I mean, there's going to be a lot of people downsizing that last kids coming out of high school. What do you tell them surrounding around homeowners insurance? What's the strategy?
What I believe is don't get insurance in the 11th hour. Naturally, how that works is, you get your loan officer, you get your realtor, then you get your inspector and title, and insurance has always come last. And I think insurance needs to come first because you don't want that situation where you find an insurance carrier and a couple months later you're looking for another one. You want to take that address and you want to send it to your insurance agent and say, I'm making an offer on this house. Are there any problems you see? Or if you're lucky enough that there's enough inventory that you're looking at 2 or 3 houses, ask your insurance agent what he thinks. 2 houses might be fine, and the third one has got issues written all over it, which is going to drive increased premiums. It's going to drive changing that roof sooner than ever. I know when I was a first-time home buyer, I couldn't afford a new roof. So if that's something that's you're just kicking the can down the road, that's important to know what you're getting yourself into in purchasing a house these days. So I think you just need to be proactive. You need to know what's going on and make sure that you don't have any unforeseen issues when purchasing that first home.
Well, Mike, I thank you for telling the viewers at the Ohio Home Inspector Network your thoughts on homeowners insurance. I appreciate you coming on the podcast, and I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you very much, James. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. We appreciate you too, Mike.